It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.
Hey folks, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're making loaded potato soup, one of my favorites. And I'm going to definitely have a recipe link down there in the description. But before we get started, I want to talk about potatoes. This is an ordinary Idaho potato you'd find in any any grocery store. Yeah, I still can't talk after all the videos I've done. You can find this in any grocery store. It's the most common potato you're going to find. It's great for mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, french fries, most potato dishes you want to make. I'm not using it in the soup today, and I'm going to tell you why. This is a red potato. You probably see those at a grocery store too. They're just not as common. They're there, but they're not as common. A red potato is firmer than an Idaho russet. Therefore, when I boil this, it's not going to fall apart. It's going to be nice and firm and a nice mouthfeel, as they call it, whenever you eat it. This guy, you can use it in my recipe, but you'll notice that the potatoes get mushy when you boil them. And then it's sitting in the soup, they get even more mushier. It's still going to taste good. It's still going to work. If it's all you got lying around, go for it. But I highly recommend using the red potato, and I think white potatoes would work too. I've never used the white potatoes. But the potatoes, you're going to see in this video that I'm not showing you the ingredients exactly like I normally do. I'm not showing you the prep work. The prep work's very important though. For instance, the first thing I did, and it's not in the video, the first thing I did was I diced up my red potatoes into about ½ inch dices. And I'm sure you can figure out how to do that. Put it in cold water, set it on the stove. Once the water starts boiling, I boiled them for 10 minutes. Then I drained them to get all that starch off, rinsed them off, and let them sit in a strainer until I was ready to use them. Now that's not in the video, I just want to make sure I let you know. Now cutting up your onions and celery, when you do cut it, that's up to you how big or small you want them. I choose to make them very, very small for this soup because when I bite into that, I want potato in my mouth. There's potato and bacon in this, and that's the star of the show in my mind. So keep that in mind. You can cut your vegetables any size you want. If you like large chunks of celery in your soup, cut them up big. Just, you might have to cook them a little bit longer. But that's about it on that. What I'm going to show you is, it's a long, involved recipe, but it's actually very, very simple, so don't be intimidated, because believe me, the results, you're going to love it. So let's get started with the very first thing we're going to do. Grab your bacon, grab your pan, and let's go to the first step, after you make the potatoes, of course. So here we go, let's get started. I got my big soup kettle out. I'm going to put that on medium to high. First thing I want to put in there is the bacon. Now this bacon, it says finely diced bacon, which I normally cut it up in the with a knife and cutting board in a old-fashioned way. But I took a few corners today and I cut it in the food processor, chopped it in the food processor. It's a little too cut up for my taste, but it's going to work just fine. So we're going to put that in there. And we're going to cook that just like you're cooking bacon for breakfast. We're going to cook that about half to 3/4 of the way through. And someone's texting me again. Well, at least I'm popular. So, I mean, it's no big deal. Just going to cook that bacon off. No sense trying to save time. While that bacon is starting, I wanted to show you my vegetables I'm going to put in. Here's my onions. Onions and celery, whenever you cut the onions and celery for this, you can make them any size you want. As you can see, I made these about a little smaller than 1/4 inch dice. They're kind of mixed in there. And the celery, I cut up as small as I could. I actually used the food processor for my celery. The reason I did that is when I bite into potato soup, I want a nice big piece of potato, not tomato, potato. And the celery, big chunks of celery, draw away from that. But what I do like big chunks of celery in is my chicken noodle soup, or a stew. I like having big chunks of celery. So this is going to take a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead so we can see what the next step is. So it's been about 5 minutes, and as you can see, my bacon's starting to render down nice. It's melting that fat off there, which is what we want to do. It's not quite done yet, but like I said, after it's been about 5 minutes, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put my onions in there. Make sure I get all the onions out of there. Onions. I'm going to throw my celery in there. Set this aside. I want to add a little black pepper. Like I said, I'm not going over the ingredients today because I posted the link in the description. And of course I want a little salt in there to help everything sweat. This is a Himalayan sea salt I grabbed. Doesn't matter what you can use table salt, whatever you want. Stir all that around in there. Oh, almost forgot. I want some garlic in it. Oops, garlic. As you can see, carefully measured. Give that a stir. And cook that for another 3 minutes. I'll skip ahead. And as you can see, my onions, my celery, they're getting soft now. They're starting to turn translucent. After that, I'm going to throw in my butter. 3/4 cup of butter, but you don't got to write it down. Like I said, the recipe is printable on bigoven.com. I'm going to melt down this butter, and it'll take a minute too. As soon as that butter's melted, I'm going to show you the next step. My butter is melting. Now, if you saw my last 2 videos, I showed you how to thicken up sauces and gravies. I showed you 2 ways to do it. One was with cornstarch and water. The other one was with flour and water. What I'm going to show you today is butter and flour, which is actually, it's called a roux. And so I got my butter in there, and I'm going to add an equal part of flour. And after this cooks for a minute or 2, what is this, a 1/3 cup? Okay. I need 3/4 cups and 2/3. A little more than 2/3. Yeah, that'll work. So I'm going to cook this flour into the butter, and I'm going to stir it. This is going to make all this into a paste. But we want to get that flour cooked just a little bit so there's no floury taste in it. You can see it's already forming a clump of goodies there. It's forming a nice clump of goodies. I'm going to stir that a little bit more. And I gotta admit, in this particular time I'm doing some guesswork on the flour, but it's the proper measurement is in the recipe link. Now, at this part, if I put too much flour in, it gets a little too thick. That's okay, because when we're all said and done, if our soup is too thick, we can always add more milk to thin it out. So I really think it's better to be too thick than too thin. That's cooking nicely there. The next step we're going to do is I have some chicken broth here. We're going to deglaze our pan with the chicken broth. And that'll incorporate into that flour mixture with my bacon and my onions. I'm going to bring that to a full boil. I will skip ahead to that part right now. Okay, now that has boiled for only about 2 minutes, but you'll see it's really, really thick down there, just with what we've done so far. And that's okay. Now we're going to dump in 2 quarts of milk. I'm lowering the heat to medium. 2 quarts of milk. Now this is the point we don't want to boil it anymore. Do not boil cream soup if you can avoid it. So we're going to let that warm up. It shouldn't take too long because this is about it's almost a half and half mixture of the chicken base, bacon, celery, onion, and your milk. So I just want to get this warmed up to where it starts steaming. Just to the brink of where it's almost boiling. While I have this out here, I'm going to add some celery. Ooh, make sure that's celery. Yeah, celery. No, parsley. Parsley, and that's what I meant to say. Put parsley in there. And a couple glugs of Worcestershire sauce. Not many people can say Worcestershire. I don't even know what the proper pronunciation is. I hear it pronounced different all over the place. If you look at the spelling, it says Worcestershire sauce. But everybody says Worcestershire sauce. And like I said, let's give that a stir. I lowered the heat. You don't want to scorch your milk. And keep stirring it here as much as I can. And I will skip ahead to the next step. Okay, we are almost to the point we need it to be. I've heated this up just to where it's starting to steam. Stir it often because you don't want to scorch. It'll scorch the bottom of the pan if you don't stir it. Like, you don't have to stand there and stir it the entire time, but you know, come back like every 30 seconds to a minute to give it a good stir. Go across the bottom, make sure there's nothing on there. And it's hot enough right now for the next step, which is the cheese. So I got my cheddar cheese here. It says in the recipe to use sharp cheddar, but honestly you can use whatever kind of cheddar you want to. Whatever you want to put on a baked potato. See, we'll just fold that cheese right into there. After that gets mixed in there, we're going to toss that in the sink. And I'm going to add the heavy cream. Now the heavy cream will make it thicken up a little bit more. And it adds a nice sweet taste to it. If you don't have heavy cream, you can skip it. You don't really need to put it in there. I just prefer to. I just want to make, now at this point, I just want to make sure my cheese is melted, which it is. It's not sticking to the bottom. I'm actually going to cut my heat way down to low. I could probably turn it off. But as you can see now, it's a nice thick broth. And guess what? We are almost done. All I got to do is take my potatoes here. If you didn't get a look at the potatoes, here they are. I use red potatoes as I explained in the intro. And I also prepared them ahead of time too. They are cooked, in case you skipped ahead in the video. They are cooked. Boiled up, cut them and boiled them for 10 minutes. They are nice. I'm going to fold them in there. The reason I put them in last is because if you put them in too early, you put them in before the cheese or before you got a lot of mixing to do, you're just going to break them all up. And there, look at that. You got nice potato soup. We are done. We are done as done can be on this. So we're going to go to the plate and taste test next. So now's the good part. Let me show you this. I just have it in a little cup. Lighting's terrible again. I just have it in a little cup today. Maybe the zoom will work. Let's see if we can zoom in on this. Still not used to this. No, but zooming in on me. Nobody wants to see me. They want to see the soup. Well, it's good. Trust me. It's good anyway. But anyway, we're going to have the taste test here. I haven't even tasted. Usually I tasted earlier. I haven't tasted it yet. So we're going to just see. So I got some potatoes and bacon in there. Like I said, the small chunks of celery. So here's to you. Let's see what it come out like. Happy fat kid dance. This is really good. I hope you make this for yourself. Now a couple other notes on it. When you serve it, you can put a little bit of cheddar cheese on top, make it look fancy. You can even put a dollop of sour cream on top of it. Like I said, anything you would put on a baked potato would go in this soup. That's about it for that. Let's see what else I want to say. Oh, I also want to point out, I didn't feel like putting the chef coat on today. It's still dirty for me doing the pot roast, so I'm just wearing some comfy clothes. Like I said, it's supposed to snow, they're not even sure, maybe 6 to 12 inches they're saying here in Pennsylvania in the next 24 hours. I'm ready for it. I got my soup. I got everything I need. I got my milk, my toilet paper, my bread. Because I don't know what it's like in the rest of the United States, but everybody goes crazy whenever it has a little bit of snow outside. So I'm set for the next 24 hours. I hope you are too. I hope you're doing well. Like I said, link to the recipe is in the description. It's going to take you to another site called bigoven.com. And it's a free site. Don't worry, I'm not making you pay for anything. But that is basically my chef diary where I keep all my own personal recipes online so I can get them. When I was working, I could go in there and look stuff up from my own recipes. But anyway, check it out. I don't know if it'll let you look at the rest of my recipes. Maybe if you click on the username. Let me know. I'm kind of curious. Leave some comments in the bottom. Let me know if you make it. Give me a like, subscribe, whatever. It all helps me. Encourages me to do more videos. So I know a lot of my close friends watch my videos, and I appreciate you guys. I also appreciate the other subscribers. We're still holding strong, 1,100 subscribers. Let's keep it going. See where it goes. Okay, guys. Take it easy. Thanks for joining me for dinner.
I like them French fried potatoes.